Hello everyone. We are going to try an experiment today, and so this is for everyone who wanted to attend my presentation at CANNEXUS on engaging the online generations through gamification, and I am so bummed that I wasn't able to be there. And at the same time, I feel like this is a little bit of a kind of proves my point type of thing, how technology can actually be used to engage people. And so we're just going to use some technology here. And I am not going to give the same exact presentation that I would have given if I was there, because I was trying to make it to be as interactive as possible. And that's how I like to do my presentations. This kind of format obviously does not allow that, but we're gonna give it a go. And so I'm gonna go through my presentation. I'm gonna give you all the information that I would have presented if I was there, and probably a little bit more because I tend to talk a lot. And so let's have some conversations, since this is well, it's going to be both on my website and on my YouTube channel. And so on YouTube you can make some comments and we can engage that way. Also, let's keep the conversation going through connection through LinkedIn, or just setting up some time to talk. And so I'll give you different options if this concept is interesting to you and you see that it's got some potential in the work that you're doing. Get in touch with me. This is something I'm very, very passionate about, and want to encourage other people to think about. I think it's got a lot of potential and a lot of legs, and so that's why I'm creating this video, so that the word can keep getting out. So I'm doing this on my own. There might be some technical glitches, but basically I'm going to toggle back and forth from me as a talking head to my presentation, and then I'm just going to upload it, and then we're going to see what happens. So let's start with my opening slide. And so basically I want to talk just very briefly about me and who I am. So, Rhonda Anstead. You might see some unusual initials after my name. I've got my doctorate in management, and that program, the program that I went through, instead of a typical PhD program where you do original research focused on a very specific, generally very narrow topic, I did my research on basically, it's more applied research. So I used very interdisciplinary published research to understand the answer to my research question, which was on social enterprises. But the skill set that I learned was how to assess the different research publications, to validate them, and also to be able to synthesize them in a way that managers, leaders, business owners, and practitioners could actually apply to their work. So it's not so much about data collection and data analysis as it is being able to process and communicate research in a way that can make real life better. So that's what I've been doing for the past 5 years, with trying to understand how to engage people more effectively when they are doing challenging tasks. So what I want to start with is by asking the question, by defining terms. Good researcher defines terms, so let's do that. So basically, what do I mean by online generations? And so if this was a presentation I would be giving face to face, I'd want to have a conversation about what do you think of when we talk about online generations? Digital natives. Basically, these are kind of ambiguous terms, But a lot of what I get from people is kind of short attention span, distractibility, always on their phone, like these people are here, and not reading books quite as much, and you know, some of it kind of stereotypes, and some of it has some basis in reality, engaging primarily through screens does rewire our brain. But what I'm talking about when I'm talking about online generations, it is the people, so it could be any age, but the people who go to the computer, internet, mobile devices first to do work, find information, solve problems, socialize, entertain themselves. So under that definition, I'm part of the online generation. I'm in my 40s and did not grow up with computers in the same way digital natives did. But I often will start any kind of research by going online. And so that's basically what I'm talking about when I'm talking about online generation. So these are the people we're trying to engage, the people that generally start with screens, computers, cell phones, smartphones, and the internet as their place to get information and to live a big part of their lives. So then let's define what gamification is. And so one of the misconceptions about gamification is that it is turning a task into a game. And that's not exactly right. There are games that help people figure out what kind of career they want to do, tap into their own passion, that type of stuff. That is not what gamification is. Gamification is the craft of deriving all the fun and addicting elements found in games and applying them to real world or productive activities. So Yukai Chao is very, very big in the gamification space. He's got different models. His research has been super duper helpful for me. And basically this little image that we have here is kind of like Mario Brothers, but a guy in a suit. And so it really is thinking about how we can take these elements that are found in games, the coins and points and ladders and blah, 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 blah. But not just the points, not just the interface. It is the fun and addicting parts of this. These are the things that keep you motivated and keep you engaged. Now, I'm going to take a really radical stand and say I am actually anti-addiction. I don't want people to get obsessed over things in such a way that it takes over their lives. And I think that our work as career professionals is pretty good in that respect. It's kind of hard to get addicted to this process because there is kind of an end in sight in getting the job. And yes, once you get the job, then you still want to grow and maybe do some different career changes. But I'm not so worried about getting people addicted to career development. I want people to persevere, though. I want people, the work that we do, figuring out what you want to do with your life is hard. How can we make it fun? How can we make it more engaging? And I think that gamification has a lot of relevance in this area. So I want to talk about the where I've gotten a lot of my research, and that is with this amazing woman, Jane McGonigal. So she's the first person, at least according to her, but I trust her, that got her PhD in games and gaming. So that's been a little bit more popular lately, but one of the things that she did from her research was write this book called Reality is Broken: Why Games Make Us Better and How They Can Change the World. Now, I come from a nonprofit social impact background. So before I was a career counselor and coach, I was in international development. Before that, I was in healthcare, and have been involved in a lot of different kinds of social justice issues. And most of the people that I work with as my clients are people in that field. And so being able to think about how games can change the world is a very interesting question to me. Now, Jane also, after Reality's Broken, wrote the book Super Better, a revolutionary approach to getting stronger, happier, braver, and more resilient. Now, Super Better is based on Jane's actual experience of having a severe head injury, and where the things that normally gave her pleasure before the injury caused a lot of pain. And so in order to heal her brain, she turned things like self-care and doing what she needed to do to heal, but found really boring because it wasn't engaging the way it was in the past, turning that into a game. And she was able to do what she needed to do to heal herself. And then from there, she created the online game Super Better, where anyone can go and use gamification to help achieve all sorts of goals, overcoming depression, weight loss and exercise. I mean, any goal that you have, Super Better helps you turn it into a game. So she's someone who has, along with Yukai Chow, has helped me understand how gamification can be used to make difficult processes more engaging and help people persist and persevere. Now, a couple things that I want to talk about in her research, and one is that she really kind of goes against that belief that games make people lazy, they make people stupid, they make people disengaged. And often when we think of gamers, we've got the stereotype, or some of us, maybe not all of us, have the stereotype of someone in the mom's basement, just spending hours and hours and hours and playing games and not doing anything else with his life or her life. And so Jane really flips that on its head and says, so why would people, after working full time, after working 40 plus hours, come home and do something that is actually quite challenging, because most games are not easy, because easy games are boring. So why would someone, after working full time, come back home, do something that might even be even more challenging than their real job, and spend up to, she found a lot of people spending up to 20 hours a week. So having another part-time job that you don't get paid for. That is difficult. And she also found that a lot of gamers actually tend to be quite social. They socialize in different ways, but a lot of these games are multiplayers, and people form teams and learn leadership skills by playing these games. So why do people do that and feel more engaged and more excited about that than the job that they get paid for? And so the premise of Reality is Broken is that so much of modern life is not based around our core human needs and the things that helped us to evolve the way that we are today. And so she sees that the problem isn't games, the problem is the rest of the world. And what games offer are clear goals, often epic quests, something bigger than ourselves. We're saving the planet, we're saving the princess. There's so many different things that we're saving when we're playing games that we're not doing when we're doing our 9 to 5. and instant feedback, a chance to learn, to create new things. There are so many aspects that are found in the most popular games that aren't in the rest of the world. And basically her belief is like, this is ridiculous. And I tend to agree that we need to be looking at life differently and not seeing games as bad, but seeing that they are an effective way to tap into innate parts of ourselves. And the other thing that I found really interesting in her research is this concept that she has called fun failure. And this is based on some research that was done with the game, I might get this wrong, but I think it's Super Monkey Ball 2. And so they had people play these games, and they had them all strapped up and, measuring the heart rate and, sweat and probably some brain stuff. I should really have looked this up before I started talking about it. But basically hook them up, measuring a lot of their physiological responses to this game. And they showed that the times that many of the players had the most engagement and motivation was when they lost. And so they started looking into that, because that doesn't make any sense. When you fail, you generally aren't excited and motivated. And so what Jane found in her research is that she saw two things happening. So this was at a time where you've got your super monkey in this clear little ball, and you're playing bowling with it, and it's like this psychedelic bowling alley in space. And if you don't bowl it right, then instead of going into the gutter, the monkey just flies off into space. And so when that happens, people laugh, and then they try again. And so she saw that the first thing that was necessary to make failure engaging and motivating was to give you some agency, that you did something. And number two, that something was something funny. And so what she has talked about is creating fun failures, something that we can do to make us laugh, which lightens that burden of, oh my God, I just made a mistake, I just failed. We laugh it off, and then helps us to turn around and then start learning from it. So that's one of the things that's super exciting about gamification, is this concept that we've got tools to turn failure into this isn't rocket science, but turning it into a learning opportunity and a way to get back in the game. So get right back on that horse. So these are some of the things that me as a career professional have been thinking, how can I use that with my clients? One other researcher that I want to share with you. This is Helen Fisher. And so she is a neuroscientist and evolutionary anthropologist. And her research has mostly been around love and romantic relationships. But what's been fascinating about her work is that she created a personality assessment for Match.com to help people better identify good personality matches for them. And she realized that most of the reasons why, most of the personality traits, between 40 and 60% of our personality, can actually be connected to 4 different neurotransmitter and hormone groups. And so she created this assessment, and that was then validated by fMRIs. So as far as I know, this is the only personality assessment that has been validated by fMRIs, but it basically talks about how personality, a lot of it, if not most of it, is biologically based. And so these 4 different groups of neurotransmitters and hormones are pretty ancient. and a little bit unexpected. So serotonin, we generally think of that as kind of like the happiness hormone, but actually the impact it has on our personality is it actually has effects that we consider to be more traditional. So these are people that like more traditional structures. They tend to be more religious, go to church, volunteer, and really interested in building safe communities. So very people oriented, but also not kind of like out of the box type of thinkers. That's more around how to keep people safe and communal. And then another set of neurotransmitters, and I'm going to give the basic ones. There's other elements to this, but I'm just giving you the high level. So dopamine. Now this is the one that has been related to addiction, but what it really creates in personality types are the people who love novelty and exploration. They're the risk takers, the daredevils, and so they're always looking for something new, something exciting to do. And then testosterone also plays a part in personality, tends to be correlated with achievement, competition, the people who really like to win. And then the estrogen oxytocin combination basically are the personalities who are strong in this, tend to be the more people interested in connecting, not only people, but also ideas, and tend to be very nurturing. So the thing is, we've got all four of these. Men have estrogen, women have testosterone, and at different levels, there tends to be one or two that are more dominant. For me, my most dominant is the estrogen oxytocin, as well as the dopamine. So I love finding ways to connect people and help make things better, but I'm always looking for new ideas. So me looking into technology on how to do that, not a big stretch, totally makes sense. So why am I talking about personality when we're talking about gamification? And that's because good gamification strategies understand that there is not a one size fits all, that we need to be able to address and be inclusive in the different ways that people are motivated and engaged. And this is one way, because there's lots of permutations about what personality is. But I like things that are really backed by rigorous science and research. And the fact that this is, for me, the fact that this has been validated by fMRIs carries a lot of weight. And just about any other personality assessment out there has got some pretty serious, validity and or reliability issues. And this isn't as complex as like the Myers-Briggs. There's 4 types instead of 16, and it's newer, so it hasn't drifted down, but it's basically a good way to start this conversation. So let's talk about, speaking of core drive, speaking of personality, this is a model that was also developed by Yukai Chow. And so he's got 8 different core drives that need to be incorporated. And I've added a little bit to this. His 8 core drives are meaning, accomplishment, creativity and feedback, ownership, social influence, scarcity, unpredictability, and avoidance. I've kind of turned those into archetypes. We've got the philanthropist, the achiever, the creator, the socializer, the free spirit, the focus player, the competitor, and FOMO. So the people where for them it's the fear of missing out. But you can see some of these personality types from Helen Fisher's work in here. The achiever and the competitor, those are probably going to be people that have are more influenced with the testosterone. Socializer, that's going to be serotonin and the estrogen oxytocin. And the creativity and unpredictability, that's going to be more the dopamine. And the meaning, the philanthropist, that's probably also estrogen, oxytocin. But again, that taps into what Jane McGonigal is talking about with those epic quests. So let's talk about what does it really take to engage online generations in career development. So from my experience, and you're going to see in just a moment a program that I developed to work with this. And so in my work with my clients, what I have found is you do need that attractive user interface. People are, the online generations, they're used to seeing things that are very intuitive, expected, clean, and so kind of any type of older types of sites just do not resonate, do not feel legitimate to a lot of them. Mobile compatibility is another one, because everything's on a phone these days. And when I first created my program, I had the attractive user interface, and it was so attractive that I'm like, oh, this is not going to work on a phone. It's just, there's too many visual details. Well, people weren't using it because they couldn't use it on their phone. So realizing that is certainly a necessity. The inclusivity of the different core drives, the different personality types, and then some of these things that Jane McGonigal is talking about, being able to measure progress, being able to tap into the dopamine system, and that might be with awards, points, all that kind of stuff. So I'm just trying to remember a little bit of why this has become so important to me, and so I'm really engaged in what I'm talking about. So I don't think I told this story already, but if I did, you can just fast forward through this. And in fact, I'm gonna let you see my face instead of a boring PowerPoint. And so when I was working on my doctorate, to kind of like let off steam, I played a couple of online games, and there was one game that I played that I actually didn't even enjoy that much. It was okay. But what was interesting to me is that I actually won the game. And I actually won this game that I didn't like that much. And then I continued to play it because I had not reached the master level at every stage of the game. And so for every stage that you completed, you could get 1 to 3 stars. I didn't have 3 stars for all of them. And so I was determined to keep playing until I did that. And so after doing this time after time after time, because, you had to start from the beginning every time you lost, and it was ridiculous. And I just remember 4 o'clock in the morning, eyes were completely gritty, being like, there has got to be a way to bottle this for good. I'm not getting anything out of this. But I'm compelled, I'm being compulsive here. And how can we use this to really make things better, to make these things that are difficult to do, to get people gritty, to get people resilient. So even when things get tough, they keep coming back. And so that's really been my mission, because so many people are in jobs that are not good fits for them, because the work of self-exploration and translating that, your needs, your goals, your personality into job titles, and then writing a resume for that, and networking. Oh my God, so few people really want to network. But all these things that are basically essential to find a good job that you are happy at and you can succeed at, people weren't doing it. And it shows. It shows in, instances of depression. And I'm sure we all quote the Gallup polls on, employee disengagement. Productivity is wasted. Everybody loses when people are not happy at their jobs. And yes, there are some systemic things that Jay McGonigal has pointed out that could make the working world so much more engaging. But there's also things that individuals can do to find and create jobs that are going to fit themselves. And that's my job, to help people do that. And so my goal is to do that as effectively as possible. So what I have done is created a program called My Career Design Studio. And so basically the premise of this is that you are a master artist and you are creating your epic masterpiece, which is, of course, your future, your career. And so basically what they're doing is, as they go through the program, this Live the Life That You Design, that changes into a virtual mosaic that's, as you go through each activity, you are building this mosaic out. And so that's a way to measure progress. And also, to be involved in something that's bigger than yourself. So this allows things, people to tap into some bigger, deeper meaning. And so what I'm going to do actually is give everyone here a sneak peek. It's going to be a little bit rough, but I have been working on the second version of My Career Design Studio because, as I mentioned, the first one was meant for desktops and laptops. And I needed a way to get that working on people's phones. But also the goal is to be able to get this out to as many people as possible. So I'm working with a college in Illinois and doing a pilot project there to see how this helps with college students do their career development courses and work. And to make this available to other career practitioners because this has got some legs. And gamification, again, is not something that has been well utilized in the career development field. So I just want to show you a little bit of what version 2 is going to look like. And as you get started, you'll see this little person in the corner. So that's a career coach avatar. She looks like me when I dye my hair fiery red. That's not a coincidence. But it starts with her, and actually you can change the avatar. So it can be someone that the person can relate to better with ethnicity and gender and all of that kind of stuff. And so basically she's always there to give you advice as you get stuck, but she also introduces a My Career Design Studio and how to work this. So here's the brilliance with technology, is that games often come with little tutorials. And so to kind of onboard people into the process, technology has some really great ways to do this. So this is just a little tutorial that she walks you through. And wow, this is really tiny, so you can't see it, but she's also introducing the different things that you can do to earn points. And in fact, My Career Design Studio has 4 different ways of gamification in the traditional sense. So we've got up in the right hand corner, you see the little stars. We've got inspiration stars. You can earn those and then trade them in for inspirational quotes. We've got motivational medals. And so things that you do to kind of help yourself stay motivated, you get more and more medals. And as you hit certain numbers, then you get little prizes like, here's a display case for your medals and things like that. Then we've got persistence points, and you get those if you log in every day. You get those if you complete tasks. And so the persistence points are the ways to actually get you doing the activities and rewarding you for them. And then with those, you can level up. And so the different levels are all related to to kind of like artistic type of themes. So you start out as a newbie, and then, you know, an apprentice, and then you become an artist, and work your way up, and until you're like, you know, basically the designer of, I don't want to give it away because, well, I don't think anybody here is going to be as motivated as other people, but, you know, kind of like you're the chief designer of the planet Earth, and then like of the galaxy and the universe. And so if you're really, 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 really dedicated and doing lots of work on this, then you get some serious bragging rights here. That's all I'm saying. Then the other thing is that you'll see over on the left-hand side, that there are ways, like when you hover, you can say, oh, this is an area that I can click on, and then that gives you all the different activities in the different sections. So there are 5 different sections, and that are all kind of related to major steps in the career design process. The first one is raw materials. So those are all the career assessments and the personal visioning activities to give you clarity about your strengths, your personality, your preferences, your goals. So what you want out of life and what you have to give, right? And then we've got the napkin sketch. And that's where you start exploring different ideas of what your future career design can be. And so you're not committed to any one thing, but this is where you do some more exploration and try it on for size. See if it fits you. Then we've got the career design area, and that is where you can actually, that helps you to turn that napkin sketch into a reality. How do you make a decision about what you're going to focus on? How to conduct research so that you make sure that you are setting yourself up for getting a job. So there's things like a gap analysis, and how to use LinkedIn to network and to do research on different companies, and creating a list of different companies. Again, all of this stuff is based on career development theory and best practices. And then the next section is called My Career Creation Tools. And that is where you start working on the actual things to help you get a job, such as elevator speech, your resume, cover letters, interview prep, salary negotiation. So My Career Design Studio takes you from every place from figuring out what you want to do to negotiating your salary and beyond, because then the final section is called My Career Portfolio. And that's where you can keep all things like awards and performance reviews. You can upload documents, keep everything in one place so that you keep updating and upgrading your career design. And you can set annual goals for yourself, quarterly goals for yourself. So all of these things are to help you move forward, and also creating really solid life habits and skills. A couple of other things, it includes what I call an art critic, which is activities to deal with those voices of doubt. I can't do this, that type of thing. So there's a lot of activities based on positive psychology research that are there. And then it also has a task management system. And so as you go through all of these, you might have seen before the star, there's no point. As you progress, then you earn points. And again, just another way of staying motivated. And so I just wanted to kind of give you an idea of what it looks like so that you see. So once you finish everything, this is what the mosaic looks like. And it gets filled in basically activity by activity by activity. So you start with the centerpiece, and then each activity you build more and more tiles to the mosaic until you create that. And you'll see that there, you've got a task list over here, a way to create a new task, 0% complete, all of these ways to monitor your progress. And so that is My Career Design Studio. I want to show you one other tool that I think is pretty awesome, and that is called Habitica. And this is also available online, habitica.com. So My Career Design Studio, you can learn more about that at mycareerdesignstudio.com. Habitica is basically a way to build new habits, and this, so it's generic. It doesn't have it does have a few quests that you can go on that are specific to things like, you know, losing weight, or you know, writing your dissertation. There's different guilds, but again, you'll see that this has kind of this retro feel, this pixelated avatar up here. You know, again, when we're talking about user interface, it's got color, it's got things that are familiar, all of that can be customized. And so basically you get points as you build habits, as you check, you know, do things on your daily list, and so it's basically a gamified to-do list. But the cool thing about Habitica that My Career Design Studio doesn't have as much of, there is a Facebook group, but Habitica built into it has group quest. Because if you remember on the Octalysis model, that the social drive is a big part of one of our core drives. We are more accountable when we do things in groups. And so Habitica gives a way that an organization can create a group quest and invite people on this quest. And the more they do what they're supposed to do, the more they check off their to-do list, the more points they get, so that they can defeat their foe, which in this thing is the icy arachnid. So these are not the only gamified programs out there. There's lots of apps. You know, there's Chore Wars, but also tons of things are gamified, like Facebook and LinkedIn, and just a ton of different company sites, Starbucks. So this is, again, there is proof in the concept. This works. When it's done well, people will spend time doing this kind of work. And what has been lacking is a way to do that in the career development field. And so that's why I am so jazzed about this topic, and why I've been spending so much time trying to figure out kind of how to crack this nut so that we can engage people in doing the difficult work of career development for themselves, find jobs that they're excited about. And so let's talk about next steps. And so again, if this was a face-to-face presentation, I really wanted us to, be able to get into affinity groups and talk about how can we use this in our work. But what I want to do is basically kind of challenge you to engage with me if this is something that's interesting. Again, if you're seeing this on YouTube, please engage in the comments below. There will be a link on my website for the YouTube page where you can do that. But also connect with me on LinkedIn. You can just, search, I'm LinkedIn/n/Rhonda Anstead. And then I also am going to include links to schedule some time to talk with me. So if you see that gamification is something that you could see yourself using with your students, with your clients, within the workforce, let's talk. Let's figure out how you can effectively do that. I consider myself a total evangelical around this issue. And so please know, if you're even the least bit interested, schedule some time with me. I would love to talk with you more. And I also want to challenge you to kind of create your own fun failure. So what are some things that you can take away from this presentation so that when you do something that feels like a mistake, that you can kind of like reboot your brain to get back on the horse. And for me, I am such a classic Simpsons fan. I feel like you can't go wrong with a good old Homer Simpson's dope. And I use it all the time. Still makes me laugh. I mean, that might talk more about my juvenile sense of humor, but again, it works. And then another thing that we didn't go into as much, but to find ways to reward yourself, to celebrate your successes. That really is the crux of gamification. So just by getting through this very long presentation, give yourself a treat. And so sometimes, again, that's just listening to your favorite music or doing a little happy dance. But make sure that the more you reward yourself, the more persistence you're gonna get. So I just want to end by just again saying thank you for everyone who has asked for this presentation, and if you've gotten all the way to the end, thank you very much for that. And I just want to share with you just some of the ways that gamification has made a difference in my life. And basically similar to Jane, I've been having tons of chronic health issues. And by really looking for ways to take care of myself and to reward myself for taking care of myself, I have become a better coach, a better business owner, so much happier and healthier than I've ever been in my entire life. And some of that is, related to me doing work that I love, but I'm doing work that I love because I did the hard work to get here. So this is what I'm really looking forward to getting to everybody, is how can you help yourself find work that excites you, that engages you, and that brings joy to yourself and the people that are around you. So really sorry that I wasn't able to meet anyone in person, but please get connected with me, and hopefully we will meet next year. And unless there's another weather event, who knows? Thanks again, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Take care. Bye.